The regular season has come and gone. It is shocking to believe the final game of the regular season is tomorrow, Tennessee at Vanderbilt. What about that football game? What to expect? Who is Vanderbilt? All that and more coming up here on your Friday, day after Thanksgiving, when you're all sitting around bloated, eating leftover turkey sandwiches. That's now, right here on Locked On Vols.
You are Locked On Vols, your daily podcast on the Tennessee Volunteers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey everybody, happy Friday and welcome into it. This is Locked On Vols, your go-to Tennessee Volunteers podcast. Each and every day, it's a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Eric Kane. So glad and so thankful to have you here with us here today. Hope you guys enjoyed your Thanksgiving yesterday with your family, with your friends. A lot of you guys still might be with family and friends. Some of you guys might be looking for an outlet from those family, those friends, and I'm happy to give it to you here on this episode of Locked On Vols. Tennessee and Vanderbilt, that's coming up tomorrow. You can find this podcast anywhere you find your podcast, completely free, Spotify, Google Play, Odyssey app, Apple Podcasts, all that good stuff. And of course on YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, please fill out those comments, like, and subscribe, and let's continue to grow this channel. Something I'm thankful for, goodness gracious, we're over 5,300 subscribers on YouTube, and I started the YouTube portion of this just on February. So you guys have been incredible. I am so thankful for you. Literally, I mean, I love talking sports. It's hard to do for a hobby, and so you guys allow me to do this. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right, Tennessee and Vanderbilt. That is coming up on tomorrow, 7:30 Eastern time. It'll be on the SEC Network. We heard from Joe Rexrode yesterday, and I mean, of course, Tennessee's looking to get back on the horse, right? I mean, I wrote a story at VolQuest.com on Wednesday, and it pretty much the headline was, for Tennessee, it's about responding the right way after getting punched in the mouth. Kind of a long headline. It's better for web. I get it. But, how is Tennessee going to respond? Again, oh, man, I hate to continue to harp on this, and I know you guys do as well, but you got your butt whipped at South Carolina in a game where you were 22-point favorites. The defense, I know I've said it all week, and I'm sorry, but 9 of 10 possessions, the defense allowed a touchdown. Just brutal, and you lost your leader. You lost your best player, a Heisman contender in Hendon Hooker, as he goes down with an ACL. How are you going to respond? How are you going to respond? I think I still like the leadership of this football team, even without Hendon Hooker. I think this team will get back up. I have no qualms about how this team prepared last week. The media spoke as players and Josh Heupel, and talked about when asked about practice last week, said, "Hey, it was a good week. They came in, they attacked each day, they were ready to go." And just sometimes that's football. And I know Aaron Beasley and I believe it was Byron Young kind of had similar thoughts about defensively. The urgency at the beginning of the game just kind of wasn't there. Just kind of assumed that because you were Tennessee and that this has been such a great season and South Carolina's been so bad and South Carolina was just horrendous against Florida offensively that you were just going to roll over. I mean, I get that to an extent. I mean, remember, these guys are kids. They're human. They're human. That's why you need good leadership. So how are you going to respond this week against Vanderbilt, an in-state foe, the team that you guys like to call little brother, okay? That suddenly hadn't won a game since 2019, but they beat Kentucky, which was ranked 24th at the time. They beat Florida. In fact, they were up on Florida by 2 scores for much of the second half. And now they've won two straight inside SEC play. Now they're a win away from bowl eligibility. It's senior day. It's at home. There's always motivation to play Tennessee if you're Vanderbilt. So how is Tennessee going to respond? Joe Milton's going to get the nod under center. I say under center. Tennessee goes out of shotgun pretty much 99% of the time. I'm excited to see what he looks like. I am. Will he be as good as he's been in mop-up duty? Probably not. There's no pressure there, but he's looked good. What does he look like when the score is 0-0 in the first quarter? I'm intrigued to see the steps that he has taken. The team's behind him for sure, and he has handled this entire 2 seasons he's been at Tennessee the right way. I understand I was madder than anybody. I was furious, and I came on this podcast and said that was the worst football play I've ever seen in the Ole Miss game, and I stand by that. Running out of bounds, That was pathetic. But everybody makes mistakes. He thought he had more time on the clock. Obviously, there wasn't. But he has handled being a backup and handled coaching up Hendon and being there for Hendon and the other quarterbacks in the room and sticking up for Hendon Hooker, supporting him. He was the first one. I mean, the thumbnail on this show back on Monday, if you watched on YouTube, the thumbnail was a picture of Joe Milton hugging Hendon Hooker coming off the field, and the word was pain. I mean, that just shows the type of teammate he is. So I'm intrigued to see what Hendon Hooker looks like. But what about that Vanderbilt defense? Well, I'll get to the offense in a moment. Vanderbilt's defense is about the same as it was last year. 34 points given up, 456 yards of total offense surrendered. It's horrendous. It is, get this, it is, oh gosh, I had the stat the other day. Vanderbilt's defense is averaging giving up 303 yards, 0.2 passing yards per game. That's like 127th or 128th in the country. Tennessee is averaging giving up defensively in terms of pass defense, 303 yards, 0.4. I mean, just horrendous stats. So there's going to be opportunities there for Joe Milton and Tennessee's offense to go through the air. It's better against the run, but gosh, when you're so bad against the pass, why run it, right? We'll see how good that rush defense is. Pretty decent on red zone efficiency. Opponents are only averaging touchdowns once in the red zone 60% of the time. That's not a bad stat. Holding opponents to a 42% third down conversion rate. But the defense is not good. Okay, it's got a good player in linebacker Anthony Orji. I hate saying that name, but it is that is his name. 103 tackles, tackle machine, 7.5 TFLs, 3 forced fumbles. He leads the team in all those categories. He's got 2 sacks. He's in the middle. He's a really good player. Kane Patterson, the transfer from Clemson, he's come in and provided a spark. He also plays in the middle a little bit. You got Ethan Barr. Up front, you got Christian James, you got Nate Clifton, you got Devin Lee. I mean, they're not very good up front. In the back end, you got a pretty decent player in DeRicky Wright, who's a safety. He leads the team with 3 interceptions. You got a cornerback that you added from UConn, Jeremy Lucen, 46 tackles, 5 pass breakups. So there's going to be opportunity there for Tennessee offensively. And again, even against South Carolina, it was a lot of the same. Tennessee had 507 yard total offense. Tennessee scored 38 points in that football game. Was it perfect? No. Hendon Hooker was inaccurate at times, but Tennessee played well enough offensively to win that football game. I expect Tennessee to score points, and I expect the offense to do. It's not going to look the same, but I think it's going to be a lot of the same, in my opinion, on Saturday. What about that Vanderbilt offense? The reason that this game gives me pause, among all the reasons that we've talked about all week, is Tennessee's defense where it's at right now, and Vanderbilt's offense got a little confidence. It's improved a little bit. They're not juggernauts. By no stretch is the Vanderbilt offense juggernauts. By no stretch should the Vanderbilt offense win this football game. But they have improved. 26.8 points per game. That's up by 5 points from last year. 355 yards total per game. That's not great, but that's up from last year. Passing touchdowns, 22 on the season. They've ran in 13. They have accumulated only, let's see here. They have turned it over 17 times, which is not great. But the offensive line has only allowed 12 sacks this season. They're protecting better. Running the football, they're averaging 161 yards on the ground. Not much throwing the football, only 194. But this is an improved offense, and it's going to attack the perimeter with the lateral run game, just like Missouri did with a stretch of the extension of the screen passes, just like what's South Carolina did with the Wildcat. The defensive ends will have to have a good game. Wesley Walker will have to have Tamari McDonald will have to have a good game, setting the edges and forcing things back inside. Quarterback Mike Wright expected to be the starter, as he should be. He started the first couple of games of the season. Then A.J. Swan came in. He started the last couple of games, but he's dual threat, really good with his legs. And so that's why I think that their mentality will be to do a lot of read options and, some Wildcat-ish plays where you're bringing, you have the same quarterback in, but you're bringing a guy in motion, jet sweep, maybe fake it, much like what South Carolina did. Why? Because Tennessee couldn't stop it. Mike Wright's got almost 500 yards on the ground, 5 touchdowns, rushing the football, second leading rusher. Throwing the football, not great, not even 1,000 yards, 946, 12 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. The running game is Ray Davis. He has over 211 attempts on the season, 982 yards, 8 total touchdowns. Wide receivers, look out for Will Shepard. Look out for Jaden McGowan. Those are the 2 ones. They'll employ 2 tight ends. Here we go. Your favorite time of the show and mine when I try to pronounce names. tight end Ben Bishannon, and tight end Gavin Schnowald. There you go. They're both going to play, okay? That second guy, Schnowald, or whatever his name is, only 8 receptions, but 3 touchdowns on the season. They will play multiple tight ends. But gosh, what an opportunity for Tennessee's defense to come back out and just say, all right, I'm pissed off, and it's time to slam the door shut. Play angry football. Play angry football and get this win. And it's so crazy how everything can change in the span of one game. You lost to Georgia. That sucked. I get it. But the way you lost at South Carolina by 25 points, losing your quarterback in Hendon Hooker, and then ultimately missing out on the college football playoffs. And now we're talking about this Vanderbilt game as a must win. I mean, it's always a must win, but this is really a must win. You do not want to end the season by starting 8-0 and then ending 1-3 with losses at South Carolina and losses at Vanderbilt. We'll see how Tennessee responds. How does Tennessee respond after getting punched in the freaking mouth? We will find out. Tennessee should win this football game, but we will find out. I think it's going to be a good football game tomorrow night, 7:30, the SEC Network. All right. This episode is brought to you in part by Underdog Fantasy. It's easy to play. It's in over 30 states. Just pick. I do the pick'ems. I pick between 2 and 5 players across any team, not just Tennessee, and they'll decide if they finish higher or lower than the total that is set. So, excuse me, for say Joe Milton this week, the time of this recording, we don't have the total set up there at UnderdogFantasy.com. Joe Milton likely will have it like at 225, 217 yards passing. Okay, I'll take the higher because again, I'll go over that at whatever that number is because Vanderbilt's pass defense is atrocious, and I think that there's going to be opportunities there. What about Jabari Small rushing? Say they set that total at like 65. I'll go probably under because I think it'll be a running back by committee type situation. But that's kind of how you play it. You do 3 to 5 players. You can do one of Tennessee's players. You can do one of Vanderbilt's players. You can do one of Southern Cal's players, one of Georgia Tech's players, whatever. The pick 'em over at Underdog Fantasy. It is a whole lot of fun. So to sign up, use that promo code Locked On, one word, and Underdog will double your first deposit up to $100. Deposit $100, you will get $100 in credit for free. UnderdogFantasy.com or find the Underdog Fantasy app in the App Store or Google Play Store. That's Underdog Fantasy, promo code Locked On. Get in the college football pick-em action today with Underdog Fantasy. All right, it's a Friday edition, Locked On Vols. Gave you that Vanderbilt preview, gave some insights on who is Vanderbilt, some key personnel, what they've looked like so far this season, playing good football, playing inspired football the last 2 weeks. And now Tennessee's going to match that. That was all segment 1. As we do each and every Friday during football season, let's get on a little Locked On Talking Vols. Boogie Bentley joining the show. Well, that is embarrassing. Do not have your background. What's up, Boogie?
Hey, it happens. It happens. It's going, man. It's good. Let's little inside baseball, man. Inside baseball. Now we're cooking with gas. Now we're cooking with gas. Inside baseball, man. I'm in the back room waiting, catching a little sneak peek of the first part of the show. You're educating, and now I'm going to come on here and be emotional and depressing. It's been a rough week, man. You said something in that first segment. Tennessee needs to come out and play angry. They need to play angry. That's spot on. They need to be pissed off. They need to be almost offended at the way they played last week against South Carolina. I think that's spot on. Come out, play pissed off. Also, happy Thanksgiving to everybody. I put a video out on my channel saying this, but I am beyond blessed. I am beyond thankful for this community. You know, my listeners, your listeners, they all blend together. And just to get on here and be able to talk football and people want to listen. I'm thankful. We are appreciative of you guys in the chat, in the comments. So thank you guys. Hope everybody had a good Thanksgiving holiday.
Dude, it's funny because just before you jumped on, I went through that same little spill. I'm like, hey, seriously, like, I love talking, Tennessee football, but it'd be hard to do as a hobby. It would be. And so for that, I'm so thankful for the opportunity to do it every single day. So, like-minded right here, you and I. Vanderbilt, as a Tennessee fan, how much do you despise Vanderbilt?
I almost see them as irrelevant because of the time frame that I grew up in, right? I'm 41 years old, grew up in the 90s. Vanderbilt wasn't a thing, but I will never forget being inside of Neyland Stadium with one of my co-hosts for the Talking Vols Network when Jay Cutler and Vanderbilt came into Neyland Stadium and took out Tennessee. I was there for it, and I'll never forget it. We stood there. I've told this story a million times on my channel. We stood there until the stadium emptied. Like, it was clear. And we just stood there staring at the field, shocked, stunned at what just happened. And finally an usher came up and he's like, guys, you got to leave. Like, you can't stay here all night. It kind of changed from that, right? And Vanderbilt's coming into this game, and I keep saying it over and over and over. They're coming to win. They are coming to win. They think they have the confidence. You got two different programs. One is trending up, and one a lot of people see is trending down. I'm sorry, don't at me. It is what it is. People are looking at Tennessee as a team that's trending down. You had everything to play for. You blew it. And now how do you get this football team ready to go play Vanderbilt? But Tennessee has better talent. They have better coaches. There's absolutely no excuse. I actually, do you think, how much is on the line with this game for this program, for Josh Heupel, like the fan base? I've been asking people, how do you respond if, and I hate to even say it, what if Tennessee goes out and loses to Vanderbilt? Because, I said, don't put this whole season on the South Carolina loss, right? This team, they beat Alabama. They beat LSU. They boat raced Kentucky. They did some great things. You go lose to Vanderbilt, a lot of that's going to be forgotten. This is a huge, huge game for Josh Heupel. Huge. You're muted. You're muted. What's happening? What kind of show are we running around here?
I'll tell you what, man. I'm trying to do some things on the back end over here, and I did that on the Rocky Top Rewind the other night. I'm like, welcome back to the Rocky Top Rewind, blah, 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 blah. And Brent's like, you're muted. You're mute. Hey.
Hey, at least somebody's with you, because I did a show, and I talked for about 3 minutes and was muted the whole time, but I was on by myself, and the chat's going nuts saying, dude, you're muted. You're muted. And I'm always at the top of the chat so I can welcome the early arrivals, and they're like, dude, you've been muted for 3 minutes. So yeah, hey, we're not experts around here. We're on here having a good time.
Oh man. No, like Josh Heupel, if you lose this game, Josh Heupel is not getting fired.
Right.
But again, you don't want to start 8-0 and finish 1-3 with losses to South Carolina and Vanderbilt, because when you're moving this program from where it was in January of 2021 to where it was in October of 2022, just a month ago, that's so much progress. That's accelerated progress. And you don't want all that to go for naught, right? I mean, we're never going to forget Hendon Hooker beating Florida, or Hendon Hooker and Jalen Hyatt beating Alabama, or going down to Baton Rouge and whipping that ass on the road. I mean, we're not going to forget that. But it's going to be easy to say, well, it doesn't matter because you lost to South Carolina, you lost to Vanderbilt, and it was the beginning of the end, because that's going to be the talk over the offseason. So this is just, you got to get a win. And keep in mind, too, it's just baffling how everything changes. If Tennessee wins, it's a 10-win team. It is a 10-win football team, which is just incredible to think about. So I think that there's just so much more going on in this football game than just lining up and playing it. I mean, there's a lot at stake.
Yeah, 100%. And like you said, I mean, it's already happening. I mean, Alabama fans, all these people that want to talk trash, Tennessee beat Alabama, but yet it almost seems like they have control of the trash talk, because they just say, well, yeah, you gave up 63 to South Carolina. And I just feel like it's so important to go beat Vanderbilt, because it's, the conversation you just had, it's always going to be, well, yeah, but you lost to Vanderbilt. Yeah,
how do we think of 2016?
South Carolina.
How much fun was 2016 beating down Georgia, beating Florida, and then you lose to South Carolina, and then you lose to Vanderbilt? I mean, again, that's all we think about in 2016.
Yeah, and it's the narrative. You even my dad, I think I've talked about him on here before, doesn't watch sports. He doesn't watch Tennessee football. He has no clue what he's talking about. But he even said, I was sitting at his house yesterday, and he's like, you know why I don't like Tennessee? They always lose to the teams they're not supposed to lose to. And he's basically laughing, saying, yeah, congratulations on beating Alabama. You lost to South Carolina. And it's, what can you say? But yeah, you're right. You're right.
Hold on a second. So how did you become a Tennessee fan if your dad wasn't much into football?
I just sat in front of the TV and saw Andy Kelly running around making plays, and went out in the front yard by myself and started pretending to be Andy Kelly.
Oh, you're showing your age.
Yep. Andy Kelly was the first guy. Andy Kelly and Heath Schuler were probably the two guys that really made me fall in love with Tennessee football. But Andy Kelly.
You know what's sad? Like I remember Casey Clausen. That's his. I mean, I don't remember 98. I mean, there were people younger than me. It's like, yeah, I remember the 98 season. I'm like, no, you don't, because I don't remember it. Like, I don't remember much about it. I remember Casey Clausen, but man, my childhood quarterback, it was bleh. Oh, I'm saying all this because I'm friends with him. It was Eric Ainge, and then I worked with him for 5 years. That's
Hey,
crazy.
I used to have an EA jersey autographed on my wall, but I had to take it down. So now all I've got is Dale Murphy. But I had an EA autographed jersey hanging in my office for a long time. I was a big Eric Ainge fan, man.
Hey,
Big
EA, love you, dude, but scoot over. Dale Murphy is way more important than you are.
That is definitely true. Sorry, man.
Yeah. Oh, but go ahead. So you just watch Andy Kelly. You went out the front yard, played football with yourself, and
from there it was off and running, man. I was obsessed. And then, friends and people that I've come across in my life. That's the people that I've enjoyed football with. My dad, dude, he's into racing. Like his this will make him proud that I said this on a YouTube channel. He was on the pit crew that won their division for the 24 Hours of Daytona. Like that's his claim to fame. So
that's
he's
cool.
He's a big race car guy. But yeah, he likes to give me a hard time about Tennessee football. But yep, that's it, man. Andy Kelly, showing my age.
Well, when you live in the Tri-Cities, it's hard not to be a racing fan for sure. All right, so Vanderbilt. I mean, when you grow up, the Tennessee won, I think, was it 22 straight from like all the way up to 04 and all that type of stuff. So I mean, your childhood and your teenage years was all but Tennessee wins over Vanderbilt, right? So the last decade has been just weird.
Yeah, that's why my generation is so spoiled, man. We are so spoiled because we dominated Vanderbilt, Kentucky, South Carolina. It was never a game, man. Those games, the casual fan didn't even watch because Tennessee was going to go out, take care of business. And now it's been flipped upside down. And, we always laugh and say, you can always tell a fan because they're going to be like, well, the last 7 years or 12 years, whatever fits their agenda. But the bottom line is they shouldn't be able to do that. They shouldn't be able to pick any number of years when you're a Vanderbilt fan, Kentucky fan. We need to get back to dominating. And it feels like Josh Heupel's doing that. But no. I asked the question. I posed the question last night on a live stream. I said, if Josh Heupel loses to Vanderbilt, does it raise a big red flag for you? Is it the Jeremy Pruitt loss to Georgia State? I defended that and said, hey, guys, be patient. He needs time. One of my co-hosts said he will never have success at Tennessee after that Georgia State loss. Is losing to South Carolina and Vanderbilt to end the season, does that raise a red flag? Is that cause for concern?
I hate to even do that because that is not here yet, but I mean, in my opinion, yes, it would be.
I'm reiterating how big this game is. Yeah. It's important. It is important.
It is. And I mean, Tennessee's a 2-touchdown favorite. Tennessee should win this football game. But again, if you get that type of performance like you did on defense a season ago, I mean, hell, Bearden High School could beat him. I mean, come on, like it was that bad. So this is a monster game. We're going to break down more of Vanderbilt, what we think is coming up on the matchup here in just a moment with our guy, Boogie Bentley of Talking Vols. But first, let me tell you about Upside. All right, inflation has us all thinking about ways we can cut back, all right? Whether it's driving less, dining out less, buying from the grocery store less, we can all agree that it's not a whole lot of fun when we talk about less. Less is not more, right? That's why I started using Upside. Upside's an incredible app for anyone who buys gas, groceries, or dines out. Upside, don't have to cut back because I get cash back with my purchases, all right? So download and start using the free Upside app. Use the promo code LOCKED, and you're going to get $5 or more cash back on your first purchase of $10 or more. Next, you need to claim an offer for whatever you're buying on the Upside app. Check in, just like on Facebook, at a business, pay as usual with credit or debit card, and then you get paid. In comparison to credit card rewards or loyalty programs, I stumble every single time I do this read on that freaking sentence. Oh, in comparisons to credit card or rewards or loyalty programs, you can earn 3 times more cash back by using the Upside app. Upside users are earning more than $1 million a week, and that's probably why they have a 4.8 star rating on the App Store. Download the free Upside app. Use that promo code LOCK to get $5 more cash back on your first purchase of $10 or more. That's $5 or more cash back on your first purchase of $10 or more by using the promo code LOCKED. All right, guys, one final segment left here this Friday. Locked on Vols. It's Tennessee. It's at Vanderbilt. Tennessee, a chance to win 10 games in the regular season for the first time since 2003. 10 games in year 2 from Josh Heupel. Last week sucked. Quite frankly, there's no excuse for last week. I'm with you. But still a chance to tie a bow on what has been an incredibly successful football season for Tennessee. But you got to beat Vanderbilt. You've got to beat Vanderbilt. Boogie from Talking Vols. Boogie, is Tennessee going to beat Vanderbilt tomorrow?
Oh, why are you putting me on the spot like this? I want to say yes. I feel like I'm so negative. And I know that the comment section is probably going to eat me alive. Why are you being so negative? Why are you saying what if? But when you look at it on paper, Tennessee should. But that's what we said last week, Eric.
No.
That's what we said last week. But you look on paper, Tennessee averages 20 points per game more than Vanderbilt. Total yardage per game, almost 200 yards of total offense more per game. Defensively, Vanderbilt gives up 10 points per game more than Tennessee. Their defense is awful too. Their passing defense is very similar to Tennessee's as far as yardage. You're looking at numbers, right? Just stats, numbers. But they give up 153 yards on the ground per game. Tennessee's favored by 2 touchdowns for a reason. The ESPN FPI is through the roof for a reason. My biggest question is, how does this team respond? And I don't want to go back down the drama and everything and the questions and the people, fans speculating what's going on with this team. I don't want to go back down that rabbit hole, but if there is some type of tension going on, how can Josh Heupel get everybody back together and focus? And then if there's not any drama, if it's just a simple fact of, hey, we got embarrassed by South Carolina. I love the statement that you made in the first segment. Come out and play pissed off. Come out and play pissed off with a chip on your shoulder. Maybe this team got too comfortable. Maybe they were too comfortable and they thought they were just on cruise control through South Carolina and cruise control through Vanderbilt. And we're going to back our way into the college football playoff. Then we'll take things serious. This team really hasn't been in a situation for that, right? They haven't. Going into Bama, underdogs, going into LSU, going to be a tough game on the road. Florida, you got to get the monkey off their back. They've always been the underdog and had something to prove. After they got through the gauntlet of their schedule, it flipped. Is that what it was? Were they on cruise control? How do they respond this week? That's the question. But yes, this team should beat Vanderbilt.
It's with the media availabilities earlier this week, Heupel gets up there and Omari Thomas gets up there and Jabari Small gets up there and they're all saying, hey, we were locked in last week in practice. We had a good week of practice. There's nothing about, Sunday through Friday of last week that maybe go back and think like, okay, maybe we weren't prepared. But then Aaron Beasley and Byron Young get up there and they say, hey, the practice was good, but the urgency at the beginning of the game wasn't there for us. I think it was Beasley saying, hey, we just thought they were going to lay over, right? And I understand how frustrating that is to hear, but that does not mean that they didn't practice well. That does not mean the coaches weren't prepared or preparing the players. But you kind of go in there and you say, okay, this team, Spencer Rattler sucks this year because he had up until that point. They didn't score an offensive point from the week prior against Florida. Your offense is the best offense in the country, and you are just rolling. And so, as frustrating as it is to hear that, I get it. It's no excuse. I get it. These are kids. You make mistakes. You're human. Okay, I get it. And that's what I've been trying to harp on a little bit this week. Like, and Spencer Rattler, he will never have a better game. Anthony Richardson, I don't know why it's always against Tennessee. Anthony Richardson will never have a better game. I mean, what Spencer Rattler was doing, he was 30 of 38, 465, 6 touchdowns. He was fitting ball. I mean, Tennessee gave him some things, but also Tennessee was right up there playing tight man coverage a couple of times, and he just made the throws. That's not going to happen consistently. So I just think this is a great opportunity to get a bounce back. Mike Wright, I like Mike Wright. He should not have a day. He should not have a day. And that's kind of how I'm looking at this game. I think Tennessee, honestly, as the week goes on, I think Tennessee's going to boat race them. And I'm not trying to, I know this is Locked On Balls podcast. There's an orange background. I just feel like Tennessee's going to boat race them. And it's gotten more and more like that as the week's gone on for me.
Yeah, I mean, you look at who this team is, look at their identity. Everything you look at says they're going to bounce back and they're going to put it together on Saturday against Vanderbilt. I like the transparency. I like the honesty from Aaron Beasley. I like that. And anybody that's ever competed in any type of sport or competition gets that. When you go up against an opponent that is inferior to you, it's hard. It is hard to get dialed in. That's why we had the conversation coming off the Alabama game. And you can be on cruise control against Tennessee Martin and go win that game. It's hard to go be in cruise control against South Carolina and a quarterback like Spencer Rattler, who's having the game of his career. But we saw the Spencer Rattler that terrified me in the preseason. We saw the Spencer Rattler that Oklahoma wanted. We saw the Spencer Rattler that there's a reason South Carolina went and got him in the portal. If they got that guy every week, South Carolina would be a dangerous football team. Consistency is his problem. But again, I like the transparency from Aaron Beasley, and I hope I hope this brings this team together, man, because they have had a special season. Now, I know you just said it, but just to they have had a special years. The games they've won, man, nobody's going to forget that Alabama game. Nobody's going to forget Hendon Hooker. It's devastating the way he went down. He's going to be a guy, we're sitting here talking about who our quarterback was, Eric Ainge, Andy Kelly, Heath Schuler. There are kids that watch this football team
100%
that are going to look back. They were in their front yards and they were pretending to be Hendon Hooker. They're wearing the 5 jerseys. They're going to look back and go, man, that was my quarterback. That's the guy that I looked up to. And what a great role model and what a great kid off the field. That's what makes it even more heartbreaking for him to go down the way he does. I hope he gets to represent this university in New York. I don't know. It's hard for me to sit here and argue that he deserves the Heisman Trophy, but he deserves to be there. He deserves to represent his football team in New York. I hope we get to see that happen.
Tennessee, if they're going to win this football game, got to score some points, obviously. Excuse me. I'm almost over this sickness, but it creeps up a little bit.
As soon as the season ends, you'll be over it and ready to go.
I know, right? I know. But for Tennessee, got to score some points. God dang. All right. You can have backup quarterback. Brew McCoy, we'll see if he plays. He got banged up and didn't play the second half. Jalen Hyde's going to play. Cedric Tillman got, I don't know if you saw the play. He avoided serious injury. I mean, he got rolled up on. It looked disgusting. He was considerably limping off the field. Cedric Tillman might not play in this football game. What do you like about Tennessee? Say if Brew and Ced do not play in this game, do you think there's still enough in the cupboard there to where Tennessee can go and do their thing?
Try to be careful what I say here because I love Cedric Tillman. I love that he chose to come back. I think this team is not as good when he's in the game after the injury. And I don't know if it's health-wise. I don't know if it's chemistry-wise. I think Ramel Keaton, if he has to play Saturday, is going to be just fine. Jalen Hyde is going to be just fine. I think this offense, I want to see Joe Milton, man. I want to see what Joe Milton looks like. Like you said, you put it perfect. What does Joe Milton look like when the scoreboard says 0-0 in the first quarter? How does he command this offense? I'm excited. It's an audition. It is an audition. It is an early tryout for who's going to get that starting job in 2023. Tennessee just needs to go beat Tennessee. Go play your game. Don't worry about Vanderbilt. Just do what you do. Find an answer on defense, though. Can we find something? Can we find something that works? Heupel in the postgame presser basically saying, Tim tried to find a way to stop him, just couldn't do it. Man, that's embarrassing. Like that statement, I'm like, you're getting paid a lot of money to figure out how to stop South Carolina.
How about you walk up your corners and don't let them off the line of scrimmage and stop playing 12-yard cushion? Just try it. You might get beat, but hell, you're getting beat anyway.
3rd and 22 and you're in soft zone and you let Spencer Rattler just sit back there and pick you apart. Freaking bring pressure, get in their face. And if they burn you over the top, let me tell you something. This fan base will be way happier if you get in their face and you bring pressure and they beat you over the top than they are sitting back in soft zone in 3rd and 22 getting picked apart.
I'll say this. I know we're up against it here, but I don't know if you have, I don't know if you listened or watched Wednesday's show, but when I went over the Pro Football Focus numbers, Tennessee blitzed 43.6% of the time. It blew me away.
It blew me away when you said that. I could not believe that. I was shocked. I actually mentioned that on our live stream. I was like, did you guys hear this? Like, that's insanity. It felt like they were bringing 4 and they were trying to bull rush. Like, it didn't feel like they were doing anything creative. It felt very vanilla and basic. It was frustrating, man. It was frustrating. Like that's been the narrative we've said all year. Get in their face, and if they beat you over the top, go answer on offense, and it's going to be all right. But oh my gosh, it felt so soft against South Carolina, and Spencer Rattler just torched them, made them pay for it. We'll
see how Tennessee responds. I wrote something at ballquest.com, like I mentioned earlier in the show on Wednesday. How you going to respond? You got punched in the mouth. How you going to respond? I am excited to see how Tennessee responds because I don't know. Maybe I am a homer. I don't know. But I think Tennessee is going to respond the right way. Boogie, what's coming up? Obviously, you're going to have the post-game show. But next week, first kind of, non-football week, kind of there'll be a bowl game, but you're transitioning in the offseason. What's kind of your schedule next week?
Yeah, I think we will do the post-game show. We're going to do a tailgate show an hour before kickoff. I'm thinking about doing a Monday morning show anyway. Have you come on, usual show Monday, kind of just do a recap of Vanderbilt and maybe the season as a whole. Just get on, hang out. And then we kind of go into cruise control. We're going to do live streams. We're going to cover some recruiting. So just make sure you're subscribed, dialed in. We're going to cover a little bit of basketball, nothing crazy. But we do keep videos and content pumped out 365 days a year, all year long. We'll be covering recruiting, the portal, all kinds of stuff. And if a lot of news breaks, we'll do a live stream, let you guys know. Come hang out and join us. Always a good time.
Boogie, we will keep this up. We'll figure out a plan over the offseason, but it's been fun on Fridays, man. I appreciate you joining me.
Always a pleasure, man. Enjoy it.
All right. That is Boogie Bentley of Talking Vols. Awesome guy. Really glad that I met him this football season. He has been really cool to speak with each and every day or each and every week. All right, guys. Hey, we're here. Tennessee Vanderbilt. How's Tennessee going to respond? We will find out. What's Joe Milton look like? We will find out. Will Tennessee win 10 games in the regular season for the first time since 2003? We will find out. It's going to be a big football game coming up tomorrow. I'm excited to see how Tennessee responds, and I know you are as well. Locked On Vols Monday morning. We'll get you caught up on everything. We got some creative, fun offseason content starting next week. Of course, we'll talk about the bowl destination where Tennessee is going to be, but also just looking back and giving off some offseason awards or some season awards. All that and more starts next week right here on Locked On Vols. For Boogie Bentley of Talking Vols, I am Eric Kane here of Locked On Vols. @_Kaner, @Locked On Vols. Check me out on Twitter. We'll keep you updated throughout the game tomorrow and, of course, back here on Monday. If you're going to the game, be safe. Happy Thanksgiving once again. Enjoy your weekend. The final regular season weekend of the year. Cannot believe it. Enjoy, guys. And as always, appreciate you right here for tuning in to Locked On Vols.